Every week, I look forward to Jon Crispin's new, updated, and sometimes improved power rankings. There's a new number one. We're going to get to that in just a bit, but as always, we start at number 5.
Number 5, and I'm putting Michigan State in here. I still have confidence in this young group, and I think Tom Izzo is going to start to turn things around. And I look at the pieces and the personnel, and I think you rely heavily upon young guys to make big-time plays and make experience plays in this conference that has been so difficult to win in consistently year in, year out. And I think execution for Michigan State is one of the things that they rely heavily upon. They run a lot of sets, so you need freshmen to learn how to play in the offensive side of the ball. I think defensively they've gotten better, but ultimately they have to get better on the offensive side.
Yeah, this makes sense to me. I think Minnesota is the only team that would really compete with them for that spot, and they swept Minnesota already during the season. At number 4,
who do I have?
I believe you have the number 4.
I'm just
Purdue.
kidding. I know. I have Purdue. I got producers in my ear. I know who I got. I did this earlier today. Purdue's here. Why? Because the team ahead of them has really been outplaying them. And Purdue should be, in my opinion, probably 1 or 2 in this conference. When you look at the pieces they have, the size and the guard play, they should be number 1 or number 2 in this conference, really, on every single week. But the issue ultimately comes back to what we talked about earlier, and that identity issue of what we are defensively. Offensively, I think they've been great. They're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the conference. They've got great size with Biggie Swanigan and Isaac Haas. They can wear teams out down low. The problem will always fall on who they are defensively. Are you going to pressure out around the perimeter? Are you going to zone up? Are you going to play full-court press? What are you going to do to at least find identity? I think that's been a huge issue this year.
Northwestern is behind Purdue in this week's AP poll, but according to Jon Crispin, they should be ahead of the Boilermakers.
Yeah, well, look, they're ahead of the Boilermakers in this conference. I think Purdue is a better team because of the pieces and the size that they have. I think they can wear you out more. But I like what they do. I do. I like what Northwestern does schematically in terms of the principles they play with in defense and then how they execute on offense. I said they're really tough to match up against. Part of that is personnel. The other part of that is scheme. I think they do great things as a coaching staff for the players that are on the floor. And even when they bring in a Gavin Skelly or an Nathan Taphorn, you can see how the offense adjusts. And there are a lot of times in this conference where you see players come on the floor, yet there's no adjustment made. You know, nothing is different with the offense, so those guys don't exactly thrive. There's an adjustment that's made when Taphorn and Skelly come on the floor that gets them open shots. So you have to credit Chris Collins for what they're doing. Right now, they're outplaying, gosh, almost everybody in this conference.
Since I've already mentioned a couple of times that we have a new number 1, you don't have to be a genius to figure out that Wisconsin falls to number 2.
Yeah, Wisconsin falls to number 2, and I think it's really just for this week. I mean, you have to look at almost losing to Rutgers at the Garden and the issues they have when you force them to be a jump shooting team. If you allow Ethan Happ to make plays, he's going to murder you. He's so good. I mean, I'm sitting there as an analyst, and I find when he makes a move, I talk less. And maybe that's a good thing. I know a lot of people say that's a good thing. But I talk less because I'm enamored by what he does on the floor. And we did the 5, player of the year, potential player of the year guys, and we didn't have Ethan Happ there. And I got more tweets about, well, how about now after the 30-plus performance that Ethan Happ put together? And they're right. They really are right. You have to consider him in the player of the year conversation.
Without question.
I think the only reason why you wouldn't is partially because you look at him compared to Biggie Swanigan and his production, and almost no one adds up.
That's true, but when we spoke with Greg Gard about Ethan Happ, the one thing he told us is he knows who he is.
Yeah.
He knows right now he's not a great perimeter shooter, so he doesn't really bother to go out there behind 15 feet unless he's starting the offense. He does all his work down low. Steve Pike will do it in the second half, and Rutgers still had absolutely no answer for Wisconsin's big man. And so the new number 1, the Maryland Terrapins.
Maryland has been incredible, and I've eaten my words, really, with Maryland. I mean, I've had to apologize in the past few weeks, saying, look, I didn't buy in at first, and slowly, week after week, they just kind of worked their way up, because at first, they won close games, and I thought, well, I don't know if they're that good. If this game's close, are they really that good? That was always the question. Well, winning close games has made them a great basketball team. They're comfortable in close games, and they're comfortable with that personnel. These young guys making big shots, taking big shots. Very rarely do you see young freshmen stepping up and taking big shots down the stretch. And I think that does start with a guy named Melo Trimble. He gives you the confidence to do so.
You always wonder, does there come a point late in February, early March, where the young guys hit the freshman wall? But right now, Jackson, Cowan, Herter actually being given, especially Herter, a little bit more responsibility on the offensive end by Mark Turgeon. And as good as he was defensively earlier in the year, he's showing he can do that same thing on the offensive side for the Terps. Big reason why they are #1 in this week's power rankings.